Hello again there, YouTubers, and this time it's for weavers. A couple of weeks ago I showed you the Seaver's loom that I was cleaning up a little bit out in my garage, and I'm finally getting around to measuring out the warp that I'm going to put on there. It's your standard rug warp, the Maysville rug warp. You can go look that up at all kinds of places on the internet if you want to know what I'm using for warp. So I've got my warping board back here. Like I say, I'm out in the garage, so this isn't the real fancy setting, but I'm going to just measure a couple of passes on the warping board to get this video started, and then we'll take a look at how I pull the warp through the loom, okay? So let's see, I've got this. I've already taken one thread of this batch, but this is pretty standard stuff. Anybody who's seen warping done before, even in one of my older videos, you can see how this is done. I'm measuring out, I think it's 6 yards for this particular warp, and it's alternating black and white, so there's 4 threads of white. Now I got to do 2 of black. So we'll just do 2 of black, and then I'll turn the camera off and continue to work on this. And the next chunk of video, which for me will probably take an hour or 2, but for you will probably be something like 3 seconds from now, will be when I'm actually putting the warp onto the loom. And this time, one thing that I'm going to be doing different is I'm going to warp this loom from front to back. Usually on my Louet or Louet, depending on how you ought to pronounce L-O-U-E-T, I warp back to front. But on this loom, it's out in the garage, this older one of mine, I'm more comfortable warping it front to back. I don't have leaf sticks on it, I don't have a rattle, and all of those things really help with warping back to front. So this time I'm going front to back, where I can effectively use the reed to separate out my threads and act kind of like my rattle. So that's one difference in using this particular loom. Anyways, you'll see more of that in what's for you just a few minutes, but for me it'll probably be a couple hours. Hi again, YouTubers. Hey, back much sooner than I thought I'd be. I just finished measuring out the last of the warp, and I am super happy with my calculations for how much string I'm going to use. Look down at those 2 spools that are left. They're virtually empty. I mean, there's not much left on either one of those at all. So I'm really happy with my semi-educated guess as to how much warp I was going to use. So you can see there I've got about 6 yards on the warping board. Now the loom is already half the warp is already on the loom. Let's go over and take a look at it. If you will vaguely remember my mentioning to you that on this loom, let's pull up one of these shafts, I've got these screws up here that are holding this metal rod here that is then used for holding the heddles, the metal heddles. So I have to put my warp on for only half at a time because I can't shift heddles to either side of this. So what I do with this loom, and this may sound silly to some of you, but it works for me, is I count out my threads and do my setup from the middle outward. So from here that way on one side, then I do the same thing on the other side. So half my thread that's measured for this is already on there for the right side of the loom when looking at it from the front, but none of the thread is on there yet from the left side, and that's the thread that I just measured out. and I'm going to start putting that through the reed next. And then once I've got it all through the reed, remember I'm doing front to back this time, then I will start pulling them through the heddles as per the pattern. Okay, so that's one of the differences using this older loom of the way I have to work. So that's one more little bit, and I'm going to start pulling threads through the reed. One other thing that's different is I'm planning on doing 6 threads per inch with this carpet warp, 6 ends per inch of warp, and I don't have a 6 EPI reed, but I do have a 12, so that means I'm threading every second dent in my reed. Oh well, let me get back to work, and you'll see more of this as I make progress. Hey there, YouTubers, again. I'm back, still trying to set up the loom for this rug that I want to make, and I realized I have way too many heddles on here. So what I need to do is take some of these off. 1, 2, 3, 33, 34. So this has been not used in so long that I had them tied together in batches, so there should be 10 in those. So I've got 10, 20, 30, 40 there. I need 33 in this set. So what I'm going to do is take off these extra ones, and I'll do the same at the other end. I've loosened the other end now. The way this particular loom works, you can see how easily I pulled this shaft up. I've got these little paper holder thingies. I don't know if you can see that decently, that are just sitting here holding these bars in place, and they keep them from slipping. So now I can slide that out like that, and to keep them together, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my slaying hook and just run it through there, pull those on there. Now that's all together as a group. And that's all together, and I can go set this aside, and I'll put these two back in. And now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side again. This is putsy. Part of the problems here is we've got the metal heddles. To say that 5 times fast. Metal heddle. Suffice to say, my newer loom has textile heddles, and I find that they're easier to work with. But in this one, I've got too many on here, and they don't compress too much, and I don't have a lot of, I'm going for a 36-inch weaving width, so I won't have a lot of room to just scrunch them up against the edge. So I had to take some off just to make room. So kind of putsy, but it's got to be done before I can start weaving. So there you go. That's one of the putsy steps that has to be done in this particular project. Okay, everybody, well, I have cut down the number of metal heddles, I still have a hard time saying that, on each of the 4 shafts to just a few more than I need. So I'll end up with just a couple sitting on the edges. And because of these screws or bolts that are in here that hold this metal rod in place in the center, otherwise it's just too long and too insecure that it flops around a little bit. So anyways, that holds it, and the heddles can't go past that one way or the other, so I can't build them all up to one side and work from one side to the other as I do with the Luette loom. So I'm going to start here in the middle and thread my heddles from the middle outwards on each side of the middle. So here it goes. This is the very middle thread, and it's going into shaft 1, which, since I'm sitting at the back of the loom, is in the farthest away position from me right now. Now the second thread is going on shaft 2, and then looking at my pattern, I'm going to go 3, 4, 3 with those two are black, and I'm going to grab a white one. Let's get the 3, 4, 3. 2 more heddles over there, and there's that one. So we'll go for a white with number 3. And a white with shaft 4. And then a white with shaft 3. I'll try and remember when I'm editing this video to somewhere near this point in the video put up the pattern, the threading pattern for this particular project, so you can get an idea of what I'm doing. When I do that, however, you'll notice that I'm using black and white threads here for my warp, but I've got it set up in the program that I use just to make the colors easier for me to see, that in the pattern, wherever I have actual black threads here, the pattern is set up to use dark blue, and wherever I have white threads, in reality I've got the pattern set up to use yellow. Kind of a light and dark theory, but I didn't want to use black and white because the program uses black and white as its lines to distinguish things, so that was just a visual effect to help me. Anyways, here's the first set of threads through. Time to turn the video off again and keep working on this off cam, and I'll bring you back when I'm much closer to the end, okay? I told you I'd have another chunk of this video when I was just about done warping, and you can see here I've got a lot done. I've got 1, 2, 3, 5 more threads to go. So again, I started in the middle and worked out and did that whole side over there, and then I'm coming back to this side and I'm again working from the middle outward, because that's the easiest way with this loom, since I can't slide heddles all the way across. One thing that's kind of funny about these heddles is they're directional in that they're, I don't know how to say that other than that, they're directional. It's easier to thread them from one side than the other. And of course, I was very inconsistent when I put them on here years and years ago in not realizing that, and so now some of them are easier to thread this way, some of them are easier to thread this way from either angle. But it is what it is. So let's untie this bundle here, untie with a scissors. I need to go 1, 2, 1. So this was 3, 4, 3, and now I'm going to go 2, 1, and then I'm done. And I've got just a couple extra heddles on each side, but I think I mentioned to you that that was intentional. I wanted to have a few extras just in case I miscounted. So there we go. That's the last of the strings onto or through the heddles, tied on. We're going to just tie a quick knot back here, and I think I'm going to end this video here and put up half of it and then get back and do a totally separate video on the finishing winding on the warp and the actual weaving. So, are you recording, stupid? I guess you are. Anyways, like I say, I think I'm gonna stop this one here. Thanks for watching. I know a lot of people who watch my channel are interested in weaving videos, so I appreciate that. Tripod's not straight. I'll get around to finishing winding this on. I'll try and get that into the next video, and then some actual weaving. I've never woven with what I'm going to be using for weft on here. Never before used cord alpaca. So that should be an interesting event for me, something to try out. So thanks for watching. If you're not a subscriber, I would appreciate if you did subscribe to my channel. If you are a subscriber, really thanks. I do appreciate it. Bye-bye for now.